there has been some talk of Justin Fields' next contract and where the Pittsburgh Steelers stand. They obviously turned down his fifth-year option, saving themselves roughly $25 million. Everybody says, well, what about a deal like Jordan Love, who got a deal in 2023, keeps him around in 2024, obviously worked out for the Green Bay Packers as they did pretty well last year. They paid him $13.5 million heading into 2024 this season. That would be a bargain for a guy like Jordan Love. The question is it a bargain for Justin Fields, and would the Pittsburgh Steelers make that move and keep him around? If I'm going to be honest, I think that makes a lot of sense for the Justin Fields side of things. I think that's a number that he would love to have, that gives him an opportunity, that keeps him around in Pittsburgh, an organization that he wants to stay at. I heard all the nonsense about Justin Fields, like he's unhappy in Pittsburgh and he's not smiling during interviews. And, it came from two sides. The Chris Carter podcast, obviously, but I love and respect Chris, and he's my dude. He's been my dude. He will continue to be my dude. The way he was making it sounded realistic. Like he is under a lot of pressure. He is focused. He could care less about these interviews. Then you had blogs throwing stuff out there about like, oh, he's unhappy because he didn't realize and he's ready to compete and he's not going to get an actual shot. That's all nonsense. Justin Fields is all smiles all the time in that locker room. He's constantly joking with guys. Him and Russ seemingly have a great relationship. He wanted to be in Pittsburgh. He wants to continue to be in Pittsburgh. So that number, 13.5, I think he would take instantly. Wouldn't even think about it because I don't think he's going to get a better one elsewhere. For the Steelers, I don't know if they're going to go that way. I could see them going much cheaper in year one and then kind of ramping it up in year two. What was Jordan Love's contract in 2023? Can you look that up? I could see them going that route where it's $13.5 million in 2026 and then 2024 is real low. You back end it and you have an out if you're the Steelers with not a lot of guaranteed money. Year one, I could see, I don't know, $4 or $5 million, maybe $6, $7.
I was about to say Jordan Love's cap hit last year was $4.4 million. This year, 12.7.
I could see that. I could see that happening. I could see 4.4, you said, $1 million. Mm-hmm. Yeah, yes. I could see that being the case. If that's where the Steelers want to go with this, that makes a lot of sense. I don't know if Justin Fields will be as into that as he would 13 point whatever. He'd have to really be guaranteed that he gets a shot. I think that would be the biggest difference here. But that one makes sense. If you want to go 4.4 for Justin Fields next year, nothing guaranteed outside of 2025, and then give him $12 or $13 million in 2026. Yeah, I like that deal a lot. Allows you to do some stuff like re-sign TJ and maybe add a Brandon Ayuk. And I think that you could go that route and make it work. $4.4 million. Do you think that works for both sides?
I think it certainly works for the Steelers side because there's upside for Justin Fields to become one of the better quarterbacks potentially in the AFC. Whereas if you're Justin Fields right now, what else do you have to lose? Because right now you're in a position that you wanted to be in. He wanted to come to Pittsburgh, right? That's what he stated the very first time he talked to Pittsburgh media. He said he wanted to come to Pittsburgh. This is where he wanted to be. So that keeps him here. And that, again, the big thing is what you mentioned. If he's guaranteed, or maybe not guaranteed, but just shy of guaranteed that he's going to be given an opportunity next year, then yeah, it makes sense because this is a guy that has bet on himself time and time again. If he's given that opportunity, I think he would take it.
That's what I'm saying. I think it works out. I think it works out for both sides. I like that move. Kaboli, I know, shut that down and said the Steelers wouldn't touch that number. I think the Steelers would touch that number if the contract worked in their favor, where if Justin Fields stunk in 2025, it's all over. Let me ask this, because this is the underlying clause of this entire thing. This is what really makes or breaks that situation. At what point, and I guess it's twofold, at what point do you sign Justin Fields? Do you sign him before the start of the 2024 season, or do you sign him after? And at what point do you decide whether or not you're totally done with Russell Wilson after this season? Because I think that also plays a massive role into what's going on here. Or are the Steelers already considering, hey, we're done with Russell Wilson, this is a one-year deal?
I think the biggest thing you look at, and to answer the first part of your question, it's before the start of the season. And I think that the reason being is, what more did they think they needed to learn if they're going to have Russell Wilson start the year?
Yep.
So just what Justin Fields does as a case study, how he studies in the classroom, how he hangs out with everybody else in the locker room. They know what they wanted in Justin Fields, which is why they went out and got him. So I think it would make sense to sign him to that extension, especially if it's something in the framework of what we're talking about is, hey, you're going to get an opportunity. We just want you to be a student for a year, and then we'll give you the opportunity to kind of show what you learned and show what improvements you could make in 2025. So I think it makes complete sense that they would go after a contract before the season. But again, it all comes down to the number. Do they get what they want as far as in negotiations with Justin Fields, where they can say, this is the plan? Are you signing off on it? Or is he going to say, you know what, I think I deserve more? And is that going to slow down the process? But I think that it's not off the table that they want to make that contract signing before the season because they already had a plan in place when they brought him in.
Yep. I agree. I think their plan was Kenny Pickett's plan. That didn't work out because I think it started before Russell Wilson. I think all of this started before Russell Wilson. They wanted Justin Fields. They didn't get Justin Fields, or they saw other opportunities. They heard of other opportunities because the Russell Wilson thing, that didn't happen in 24 hours. They knew what was coming well before we knew what was coming. They realized other opportunities were going to present itself. They backed off of Justin Fields because they said Russell's an immediate starter. Justin's a guy that's going to compete with Kenny. We'll make Kenny the guy that's long-term. We'll just sit him for a year, let him learn behind Russell Wilson what he should have done his rookie season with a better offensive coordinator, a better quarterbacks coach, and then see what he has in 2025. I think that's their plan for Justin Fields. So I agree with you. I think they already know where the outlook is. I don't think Russell Wilson fits into that outlook. And I don't think there's a situation where he could fit into that outlook. I don't think that he could go out here and win a Super Bowl for the Pittsburgh Steelers and come back next year and then say, all right, we're going to re-sign you and we can afford that. That's not going to happen. So I agree with you. I think it could happen before the season. I think that's the most likely situation is that it happens before the season. And I can see them going with the backloaded contract. And I think that makes a lot of sense for both sides. Justin Fields has got to bank on himself, but you're crazy not to bank on yourself in an offense that you get a year in to develop and then get a shot. Like that don't go into free agency. You're going to go into a worse situation. The Steelers are a good situation. They'll have a better wide receiver core by the end of this season, maybe the beginning of next season. It just makes too much sense.